So what about search engine optimization? Whenever I take on a new website commission, I always get asked about SEO and how important it is for my client's new website to appear on page 1 of Google. Well, this is an important thing to consider, but unfortunately the answer isn't one that most people who are unaware of the way search engines work are going to grasp fully. But it is an important thing to dwell on for a few minutes, so if being at the top of search is critical to your business, after watching this video you will understand a little better what is involved in getting you there. So typically when you go onto Google and you search for something you're interested in, you will enter a term or phrase, maybe something like, what is the easiest bread to bake at home? What you see next is a combination of adverts and what we call organic results or non-adverts. The adverts are there because the owners of those sites believe that you should visit them to get the answer you were looking for. The other results that appear on the first page are what Google thinks you should visit based on what they already know about those specific sites and how your search term relates to the content that they have found on them. The important thing to bear in mind here is that the ad results are shown to you based on what the advertiser wants to appear in search for, and the organic results are based on what Google has taken the time to find out about those websites. The finding out process is in essence what SEO is all about, and knowing how to publish with an expected search outcome in mind is the practice of search engine optimization. You want to optimize your information so that Google can find it easily. So how do we do it? Well, there are some technical things that need to be done that will help Google understand better what any website is all about. They use a mix of things to check for, and while they do provide website developers like myself with some pointers on what these things are, for the most part they are particularly obtuse about what makes one site rank higher than another for any specific search term. And the goalposts are always changing, so it can become very frustrating for website owners to keep their sites at the top of the search pile for any particular term. Some WordPress plugins will guide you through the most important things that you need to do for any piece of content in order to help it up the rankings, but these are never a guarantee. The more popular ones include things like Yoast, all-in-one SEO, and Rank Math. I find that Yoast seems to be a lot more helpful than the others as far as helping you, the publisher, understand how the SEO process works. I've used both the free and the pro versions of Yoast. The pro version is expensive, and if I'm honest, it doesn't really do all that much more than the free version, apart from allowing you to enter more search terms for it to analyze your content against. One thing to keep in mind is that buying any of these plugins does not mean that your website will suddenly catapult to the top of search rankings. Oh, no, 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 no. In the case of Yoast, what they do is they analyze the content of a page or WordPress post in real time, and they tell you where and how to improve that content based on the search terms that you told them to analyze the content for. Think of it as being like having a coach or a teacher point out where you need to improve while they're standing behind you. As you complete more of their suggestions, the page will eventually be shown a Yoast green light for SEO, meaning that Yoast thinks it will rank well for that specific search term. In reality, all this really means is that your page is optimized for the search term you ask them to analyze. It doesn't mean that Yoast have suddenly lit a firecracker under Google's butt to get them to rank your site higher. Getting that recognition is what makes getting to page 1 such a tricky thing to get right. You can graduate to the top of the class, but getting the job of CEO straight away isn't likely to happen overnight. In my experience, good search rankings come naturally from what we call rich content, which is why I always highly recommend website owners to use their WordPress blogs to produce relevant content about what they do on a regular basis, and to think very carefully about how they link that content in with the search terms that they want to be found for. As a website builds more and more rich content and not just fluff that is intended to try and trick Google into thinking that the content is actually useful, it'll start to appear higher in organic search. Creating rich content is, in my opinion, the very best thing that you can do to get your site noticed by Google. So what other things do Google take notice of when they assess your worthiness of your site to appear in their search results? Well, one of the things that they are particularly interested in these days is the loading speed of the website, and also whether or not it is mobile friendly. If you're hosting on a shared server that doesn't have great speed, your ranking will suffer. So choosing a good host at the outset becomes critically important. as does making sure that your server has encryption by means of a security certificate. Without SSL, you're never even going to appear in Google search. It's a must-have. The mobile-friendly aspect is also very important because more than half of all things Google these days are done on mobile devices. Fortunately, WordPress and WooCommerce is 100% sorted as far as mobile responsiveness is concerned, so you don't have to worry too much about that one if you're using WordPress or Woo. Where content is concerned, in the old days, Google used to use a metric called PageRank to determine the weighting of a usefulness of content on any particular website. They would base this metric on the amount of backlinks that they found to any site. So the more trustworthy websites they found that were linking to your content, the higher your PageRank would be. However, this methodology became seriously problematic because naturally so-called SEO experts tried to game the system, and they would use bots to go and place spammy posts with backlinks on just about every WordPress website they could find online that allowed comments to be posted. Strangely, they still do this for some reason. A few years ago, Google stopped publishing the PageRank details of any websites, and they have also become quite clever at determining the validity of content of a web page by using artificial intelligence to analyze it. They can tell when a piece of content has been written by a human and also when it has been written to try and influence a specific high-value search term. Where they do find instances of bad content, they sandbox those websites, and sandbox websites will most probably never appear in search. You definitely don't want to get sandboxed by Google. One of the other things that I've discovered about search engine rankings that I believe is becoming more and more important amongst this mix of non-content related factors that Google uses to rank websites is the age of a website. Older websites with similar content on them compared to newer ones definitely appear to have an advantage in search. So for this reason, I always tell newer clients that if they want to play in the search rankings business, they need to understand that this is a long game and they will only start to see results after a year, maybe two, depending on what they're optimizing for. If anybody tells them that they can get them to rank for a term almost immediately, they should know that they're being had. If you're trying to rank as an online shop, you're going to find it even harder to do this organically because the amount of competition these days is so high. Also, bear in mind that consumers who are searching for easily found commodities will usually get much further, they will usually not get much further than the product carousel that appears on the top of a page if it contains what they're looking for. Typically, this would be price and or availability, so only those results on the paid carousel are likely to get their attention. It's just human nature. I know I'm guilty of this myself whenever I'm looking for a product that I already know something about. Where an online shop can make great inroads with organic search is in providing excellent product content, such as reviews, comparisons with similar products, and of course, not forgetting the power of video these days. If you're making great content that will help a person discover a new product for the first time, there's a good chance that they might end up buying the product from you. So this area should be your opportunity to get one up on your competition. It does take some effort, but know that your efforts will be rewarded over time. So that's it for this video on SEO and our friends at Google. If you have any questions about the topic, you can either get in touch with me via the comments area on this video on YouTube, or join up on the Facebook support group that I created recently and ask the small but growing community of online entrepreneurs there. I will leave links in the description below. And don't forget to give the video a thumbs up if you found it worth watching, and of course please consider subscribing to the channel. That will help me a lot. So until next time, take care.